Hi everyone, my name is Cailin Hughes, and for my major work analysis assignment I was given the story The Petrified Man by Eudora Welty. Eudora Welty was born in 1909 and lived until 2001. She was born in Jackson, Mississippi, where she also attended all of her schooling and college. After college, she was a radio writer and a newspaper society editor, and she also took photos and interviewed locals during the Depression era. She started writing fiction in 1931, and 5 years later wrote her first short fiction story called The Death of the Traveling Salesman. She was awarded many prizes for the best piece of short fiction and loved writing about gossip and humor. She would transition death and violence into an entertaining twist. She wrote a lot about the American South, the people in Mississippi, and really what she grew up in. A lot of her characters involved just the Southern Americans' physical and mental disability and just genuinely unstable kinfolk. So, The Petrified Man was about these women at a beauty parlor. It doesn't really involve the Petrified Man. The Petrified Man is this man who eats things, and when he digests them, they go to his joints and turn him into stone. And how the women in the beauty parlor met him is Miss Leota, who was the main beautician, and one of her clients, Miss Pike, had went to this show called The Freak Show, which is where the Petrified Man was, and it also talked about midgets being there. And they went to this show, and Miss Leota was allowing Miss Pike and her husband and her son to stay at her house. And one day Miss Pike was flipping through an old magazine that had been sitting on the table for months and saw a wanted poster in the magazine and recognized the Petrified Man, and he was wanted for raping 4 women in California. So she went and turned him in, and her husband got $500 reward. And Miss Leota felt lots of betrayal by Miss Pike because they were friends and she was allowing them to stay at her house, and she did not receive any kind of money from that reward. But also, and that's a little bit about the Petrified Man and how he is involved, but the main story is based on the location of this story, which was at a beauty parlor in Mississippi. Eudora Welty was really known for her location in the stories, and she felt like location was the most important thing in the stories because the beauty parlor in this story is where all the gossip and drama happens. It's the main plot of the story. It showed such a specific moment in time by using accent dialogue, how the women talk to each other, and their southern strong thick accents from Mississippi. It's really about beauty, gender roles, talks about abortion and rape and sexuality. So the location of the story is important because the salon is a place dedicated to altering the client's appearance and also the clients talking about each other. So Miss Leota has 2 main clients in the story, which is Miss Fletcher and Miss Pike, her newly developed friend. And Miss Pike had mentioned to Leota that she thought Miss Fletcher was pregnant. So when Miss Fletcher came to get her hair done, Leota had recognized that her hair was falling out, and Miss Fletcher said it was because Leota had overcooked her hair during her perm, but in reality, Leota said that it's because she's pregnant. And of course, Miss Fletcher freaks out, asking, "Where'd you find this information from?" She starts asking other beauticians where they heard this from. This is gossip. All of the things, and Miss Fletcher mentions that she may not even keep her baby, and Leota says that she's not going to tell anybody, but then she admits that she already told Miss Pike, and it's just basic women things in the beautician area. We all know that gossip goes on there, and they go to the beauty parlor to feel better about themselves. And we all know, as humans, some people find it appealing to break down others to make themselves feel better because they're insecure in who they are. So a lot of this story revolves around judgment, breaking other people down, and insecurities. So the thing I chose to teach about in this story was symbolism, because Eudora Welty really thought location was important in her stories. And so the beauty salon really symbolizes appearance of others and judgment by others. So symbolism is defined as the characters or things that represent more than themselves. So obviously this story is not about a beauty salon. It's about what goes on between the four walls of the beauty salon within the women, because in the story it is not talked about anywhere else but the beauty salon, and how Miss Fletcher comes in and judges others. She's very, very judgmental and very insecure of herself. And we know that back in the day, women didn't really work a whole lot, so a lot of the women went to the beauty salon once a week, whether it was to get a new perm, get their hair colored or cut, to stay kept up for their husbands. So that was very popular back then. So the beauty salon really symbolizes the most importance of the story, where everything happens, the drama, the violence, the judgment by others, the breaking down of others. And I thought that was the most important, especially knowing that Welty likes to include location, and that is very important for her. You could also talk about the perspective of one of the characters, like Leota feeling betrayed. She's also kind of a pot stirrer. She likes to stir the drama. You could also mention the irony in the story. There's lots of verbal irony, in my opinion, but symbolism is the most important. And we know that the beauty parlor wasn't just a hair salon. It symbolizes how women view themselves and how they view others, and kind of what it was like back then. Back in the day, how women spent a lot of time at the beauty parlor. They loved to go to the beauty parlor really to feel better about themselves, to pass on the days. They would, leave their kids with other people and go do their own thing. It was very, very popular to go to the beauty salon back then. And even in today's day, if you were to talk to an elderly woman who lived during this time, they still go to the beauty parlor every week. They still gossip as if the beauty parlor is the same now as it was back then. And I believe that we should be adding this story to our regular calendar, because this story is really for a beginner in literature. I have to admit, literature is not my strongest suit. However, I was able to really grasp the literature definitions from this story, and I compared this story a lot to Desiree's Baby, and I think it is because I loved Desiree's Baby. I was able to learn so much from it because it was very interesting, had lots of drama, and I'm reading a story for the drama. I'm not going to read a boring bibliography. I need some interesting things happening in the story. And so I compared it a lot to Desiree's Baby, because in Desiree's Baby I was easily able to pick out the foreshadowing, and in this story I could see the symbolism of the beauty parlor. It was very easy for me to get through this story. It wasn't like a headache trying to read it. So I feel like this story should be added on, at least for the beginners. It's easy to write a discussion over, and I learned a lot about the literature terms from this story. As I said earlier, there's many of things you could apply to this story. Symbolism was just the most important, in my opinion. And in this semester, I have had to reference the literature review sheet a little bit because it's not my strong suit. And in this story, it made it very easy for me to apply the literature terms. So, as a beginner, I think this story would be great to be added to the calendar, and it had lots of humor and entertainment and visualizing features in this story. So thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you were able to learn a lot from the Petrified Man story by Eudora Welty, and I really hope you were able to understand why symbolism is the most important aspect of this story. Thank you.